I joined them as they planned a rescue, which is going inside an abortion clinic and offering women other options than abortion. So it's the same concept as sidewalk counseling, but just taking it inside the doors. Because of the action we were able to be a part of that day, we know of at least 5 women that turned away from their abortion appointment. All of us that day were put in police cars, then we were taken and booked to a local jail. And then it was actually close to 6 months before we actually formally went to jail.
From the heart of Michigan comes a voice that refuses to be silent. Cassidy Schultz grew up with a living reminder of what it means to choose life. Her mother was pressured to selectively reduce her triplet siblings, but courage and conviction prevailed. Today, those siblings are alive because one mother chose hope over fear. That conviction shaped Cassidy's life, carrying her from sidewalk counseling in Grand Rapids to the front lines of civil disobedience just outside Washington, D.C. In 2022, she spent time in jail for peacefully offering women alternatives to abortion, an experience that only deepened her resolve. A nursing assistant by training and an embryo advocate by calling, Cassidy reminds us that every stage of life, zygote, embryo, fetus, or even child, is fully human and fully worthy of protection. Her passion reaches far beyond her hometown. Cassidy sees abortion not just as an American tragedy, but a global wound. With over 1 billion lives lost worldwide, and yet she holds onto hope, believing that God's people can rise up to end abortion everywhere. Her story is one of courage, faith, and an unwavering vision for a world where every child is welcomed and loved. This is Living Pro-Life. Well, welcome, Cassidy, to the program. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful to be here today.
Well, Cassidy, you call yourself an embryo advocate. What does that mean?
Well, I believe that every human being has value from the moment of fertilization. And there are different names developmentally we use to describe human beings. One is a zygote at the moment of fertilization, then embryo, then fetus, then neonate. Then we go on to these other developmental names we're used to, like toddler, adult, and we're each equally human. And so I think it's important for us to help our culture that has really devalued the stages of zygote, embryo, and fetus to remember those are just age descriptors and they are still equally valuable humans who should be protected from violence.
Well, I know you've been doing a lot of work in the pro-life movement from a very early age. But I think one of the most notable things that got a lot of attention around the country is being arrested and then eventually sent to jail for doing pro-life work. So tell us about what happened, and then we'll ask you about other things along that story.
Absolutely. So in 2021, I got connected to pro-life atheist Teresa Bukovac, and she was working on a new pro-life project, the founding of the Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising, which is a progressive organization that fights against abortion. This was Teresa's second pro-life organization she was founding. So when I joined her in Washington, D.C. for about a 3-month internship, I joined them as they planned a rescue, which is going inside an abortion clinic and offering women other options than abortion. So it's the same concept as sidewalk counseling, but just taking it inside the doors. And I had never been a part of something like that before, but I had gotten to sidewalk counsel for about 4 years in Grand Rapids previously at Heritage Clinic for Women. And I really wanted an opportunity to be a part of that because I believe that the unborn deserve our best advocacy. And if God leads you to be a part of civil disobedience, because currently our laws do permit the killing of preborn children. They literally protect the abortionist and they protect those that seek abortion, and then they kill a child. So the child is just completely overlooked in our laws, and it is permitted to destroy them. So when this opportunity came up to, participate in civil disobedience and to enter an abortion clinic to offer women other options than abortion, being a young intern, I said, let's go. I want to join in. At first, I think they thought I would not participate because I'd never done that before. And Teresa and Lauren Handy, some of the people involved there, had done it many times. But I was really grateful to join them. And because of the action we were able to be a part of that day, we know of at least 5 women that turned away from their abortion appointment. We don't know if they rescheduled, right? They could have. But we pray that lives were saved as a result of that rescue.
Wow. So it wasn't without consequences, right?
Correct. Yeah. All of us that day were, put in police cars, and we were taken and booked at a local jail. And then it was actually close to 6 months before we actually formally went to jail. But eventually we did go to jail for 2 days.
So tell me about the process of, getting an attorney, going to court, I am assuming. So tell me about that process, if anything.
Well, the process is very interesting, right? Because our laws protect those that want to harm kids, and then those who try to defend children from being killed are prosecuted. So I'm really grateful that in our country, despite the fact that we currently have unjust laws remaining that protect abortion, we do have some amazing attorneys who have devoted their lives to serving the pro-life movement. And I believe it was the Thomas More Society that helped us and sent a lawyer to help represent us. And that was so helpful because I don't have a legal background myself. I didn't know much about what the process was going to be going through our hearings and whatnot. By the grace of God, I think all of us were able to be brave and we were each given an opportunity during the hearing to say why we participated in the rescue before the judge. And I don't know why they had me go first. I was like, oh dear, I don't feel ready for that. And I was able to talk about how historically in America, there have been people groups we have not treated as full humans. So for example, during slavery, we looked at people who were African American and we didn't believe they deserved full rights. And our laws actually protected harm against them. And we're still having a similar problem. And even worse, because we were murdering these children 3,000 times a day. So being able to share that with the judge, he was not convinced. As a matter of fact, I think he was very ticked off by all of us by the end of hearing us all express our reasons for trying to protect those children that day. But I'm grateful God gave us the opportunity. And it was challenging, but I really don't think I had fear at the time. I think God just gave us grace to handle it in the moment.
Yeah. Well, you were sentenced to 28 days in jail. You served 2 of those, and they let you off early. But tell me about that experience of going to jail for this noble purpose.
It was interesting. I've never been booked in a jail like that before. It was very interesting. So because it was 2022, they were still doing COVID isolation for all people in the jail. So basically they brought us into the jail and then they do the search and they make you wear jail clothing. And so me and one of the pro-life atheists were in a cell together. And then a couple of the other pro-life activists were in cells by themselves for COVID isolation. So in my cell, it was me and Kristen Turner, who at the time was a pro-life atheist. And we ended up having some conversations about faith. And whenever you do as a Christian, you try to share your faith, you just don't know how God will use it and how God is moving in that person's heart because it's God's timing. He's working in them. And it was later that Kristen said that some of the conversations we got to have about the resurrection and if that's real and if did Jesus really raise from the dead, did touch her heart. And I didn't hear for a long time, but a long time later, she did become a Christian, which was really amazing. Wow. So really, it was just me and several other pro-life activists around each other. I didn't really meet the general population of the jail because I was released within 2 days. So we saw some of them and they seemed a bit threatening at times because it was both men and women in the jail we were in. That was a little concerning. So I was like, please don't put me out there. But we were safe. And genuinely, I don't think I experienced fear while I was there. So I'm very grateful.
Great. So tell me, I think we talked a little bit beforehand that for you, it's not just local. While maybe you get the most attention from your time with the rescue, I think your heart, is my understanding, is more for a global, complete eradication for abortion around the world. So tell us how a local girl in Michigan is going to help us end abortion around the world.
Yeah, that's a great question, Brian. I think for all of us, we can each have a heart to see abortion not only ended in our community, but on a global level. because that is not too hard for God. I know that for many of us who are activists, if you've done any kind of like trying to canvass against a pro-abortion amendment, or you've tried to do pro-life advocacy in your local area, it can feel like a lot just to carry that. But just remembering we're human beings, we're limited. We can't do as much as we'd like to do, but God is not limited. He's very capable. I think our whole entire culture, not only in America and in my state, but also just on a global level, has been damaged by abortion. And our hearts should really break for all the people around the world who are hurting as a result of the loss of these children's lives. So many parents that go every day without their child. They pass birthdays every year where that child would have been here, but they're not here. There's just so many people hurting. And America was not the earliest adopter of abortion. To my knowledge, I could be wrong, but I think the earliest adopter of legal abortion was the USSR, later became Russia, in 1920. And to this day, Russia is really struggling with an abortion culture, very high abortion rates still. And world leaders have become more concerned about abortion, not because it's the killing of a child, but because of it's wartime now. So now they want to have more soldiers. And they're like, oh, our birth rate is so low. So I've even heard some comments when I've read articles regarding Vladimir Putin just saying like, oh, how do we get our birth, rate up? And I think there is an understanding, not in the fullest sense of like, this is a human life that is unjustly killed, but just understanding we've lost people that are supposed to be here and our culture isn't valuing human life. And I just think we're at a point where people are ready for a change because the sexual revolution has damaged people really badly through abortion, through like casual sexual hookups. There's just so many things that have not given people what they thought. They were told like, have a easy abortion that will take 15 minutes and your life will be better. But instead they were left with years of grief and depression, and some people even suicidality, like trying to harm themselves after having this abortion they were told would fix their life. And so I've seen just some hopeful signs in our culture of people who've said things like, is the reverse sexual revolution coming? Are people done with this? Because I think even secular people are hurting from the sexual revolution, and our entire globe is missing stats are hard to measure because not every abortion is caught in the statistics, and there are different reasons for that. One is like abortion pill trafficking and all that stuff, but it's going to be over 1 billion people, possibly 2 billion people on the global level who are missing because they were killed in abortion. It is so hard to wrap your mind around a statistic like that many people have been wiped out. But those children deserve to be remembered. And we need to create a better world where children are always protected.
Absolutely. Well, I think your pro-life story didn't start in high school or even later like many people, but it started very, very young, I think, with your mother. So tell us a little bit about that story.
Yeah, there's kind of two elements to why I became pro-life. One of the things that really contributed is I was an only child till I was almost 4, and I really wanted some siblings. And then one day I found out my mom was having triplets. It was very exciting. And at the time I wasn't old enough to comprehend this. It wasn't shared with me until later, but my mom had gone into the doctor's office and they had said to her, you should not be having all three of the triplets at once. That's unwise. Like trying to gestate 3 babies at the same time is not wise of you. Why would you do that? You need to selectively reduce, which is just, medical jargon for have an abortion of 1 or 2 of them so the other supposedly has a better chance. And I'm so grateful that I have a pro-life mom who absolutely refused and was like, no way. All 3 of my children in the womb are valuable. And they all have a chance at life. And they were actually born at full term for triplets, which is 34 weeks. And they were good, healthy sizes, only spent 2 weeks in the NICU. So the doctors were dead wrong. They were all healthy and they're doing well now as adults.
Wow. And so you said that there was a kind of a second phase, you said, in your pro-life journey.
Yeah. So from there, I think abortion victim photography is very persuasive for people because it's easy to be pro-choice when you don't see the victim. But once you see the victim, I think your life has changed. And so when I was about, I want to say 12 or 13, somehow I accidentally encountered this video of a dismemberment abortion. And seeing this video of a child on an ultrasound who was clearly fighting for their life. They wanted to live. They were probably around 12 weeks gestation, just their heart racing. And they were experiencing violence as their body parts were ripped off. That just really left a mark on me because there is nothing, there's no situation that makes it acceptable for us to destroy human beings and to kill them. And that just left a mark on me from a young age. I remember going to my mom and saying, this isn't real, right? Like, this is someone with a very sick imagination that created a horror film. Like, this doesn't really happen, right? And unfortunately, it does. And she explained that to me, that this really goes on every single day in our world today. And it gave me motivation to fight for those lives.
Absolutely. You're getting now involved in the medical field, so hopefully you can change that little by little. You're doing nursing assistant work right now. And so tell us a little bit about the work in the medical field and how some people in the medical field are maybe just completely lost with regards to the Hippocratic Oath and protecting these children and innocent life.
That's a great question. I think historically, the practice of medicine and nursing always support protecting human beings and not dismembering them or poisoning them in the womb. I think those things are actually anti-medicine. So looking at the history of medicine, it wasn't normal for us to pit mother against child. And I think from even just getting to see experiences clinically, I work in a critical care unit, and on occasion I've gotten to see some obstetric patients in very difficult situations. The truth is, every mom and baby deserve to be fought for. And that means having doctors and nurses and healthcare teams that are committed to doing the best they can for both patients. And that is what has happened really throughout the entire world. And on obstetric units, obstetricians are very aware that abortion is not medically necessary. Some pro-life people actually think we should never say that. They think we're creating a wedge between us and the pro-choice person if we say abortion isn't medically necessary. But we're actually just giving ground to the pro-choice side that, and by the way, it's anti-medical, when we don't acknowledge that it is always possible for us to give good care to mom and baby. Sometimes, tragically, if a mom's blood pressure is really high or really low, or she's approaching cardiac arrest, you may have to separate mom and baby to save the mom. But that does not mean intentionally harming that child. It takes obstetricians from the time of an incision in a mom's abdomen to the time of delivery once the incision has happened, 2 minutes to, do an emergency C-section.
Wow.
So we have great technology that they've really worked very hard at making highly effective now. It is possible to separate mom and baby to give the child a fighting chance at life. And sadly, these situations do happen before the baby makes it to term sometimes. The baby might be, 14, 15, 16 weeks when preterm delivery happens. And that is still not the equivalent to abortion. Because if it's a scenario where tragically the mom's going to die if separation doesn't happen, there's such a world of difference of a baby being placed on the chest of their mother to be loved, cared for, and to just be treated like a human as they pass, than for a child to be suctioned away into a canister and thrown into medical waste.
Absolutely.
So those two things are so different.
They absolutely are. Well, we've been chatting with Cassidy Schultz. They're out of Michigan, and we're so glad you have taken a little bit of time out of your day and been a guest on our program. Thanks for being on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.